Admiral Kim Woo-jin stood on the bridge of the starship Soul's Pride, watching the massive alien vessel appear on the main screen. The ship was 3 times larger than any human vessel, its dark metal hull covered with strange symbols that glowed, red in the darkness of space. Around it floated dozens of smaller ships, all pointing their weapons toward Earth. The communication system beeped, and a holographic image appeared in the center of the bridge. The alien was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms. Its eyes were completely black, and when it spoke, its voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "I am Admiral Vexthul Moran of the Terran Galactic Empire," the alien said. "I speak for the Emperor himself. You will listen and obey." Captain Park Min-ho and Commander Lee Ji-woo moved closer to their admiral. They had never seen an alien before, but they had heard stories. The Terran Empire controlled 7 star systems and had conquered 43 different species. They were known for their cruelty and their massive fleets. "Your species has committed crimes against the Empire," Admiral Vexthul continued. "You have expanded into star systems without permission. You have built technology without our approval. You have refused to pay tribute to the Emperor. These are serious crimes." Kim Woo-jin listened calmly. He had expected this day to come. Ever since humans had first traveled to other star systems, they had heard rumors about the Empire. Other alien species had warned them to be careful, to stay hidden, to never attract attention. But humans were not good at staying hidden. "The Emperor is merciful," the alien admiral said. "He offers you one chance to avoid total destruction. You have 72 standard hours to surrender completely. You will hand over all your ships, all your weapons, and all your technology. Your leaders will come to the imperial capital to kneel before the Emperor. Your people will become servants of the Empire." The alien paused, its black eyes staring directly at Kim Woo-jin. "If you refuse, we will destroy every human ship, every human colony, and every human on Earth. Your species will cease to exist. This is not a threat. This is a promise." Captain Park Min-ho felt his hands shake slightly. The alien fleet had over 300 ships. Earth's entire space defense force had only 50 ships. The numbers were not good. But then something unexpected happened. Admiral Kim Woo-jin smiled. It was not a nervous smile or a scared smile. It was a genuine, almost happy smile. The kind of smile a person makes when they hear good news or when someone tells them a funny joke. Commander Lee Ji-woo stared at her admiral in confusion. Captain Park Min-ho wondered if the stress had finally broken the old man's mind. Even the alien admiral seemed surprised by the reaction. "You find our ultimatum amusing?" Admiral Vexthul asked, his voice becoming even more harsh. 72 hours? Kim Woo-jin replied, still smiling. "That's very generous of you. Most species probably need that much time to panic and argue about what to do. But we're humans. We'll have an answer for you in 24 hours. The alien admiral's forearms moved in what might have been anger or confusion. "You do not understand the situation, human. We have 300 ships. You have 50. We have conquered 43 species. You have conquered none. We have weapons that can destroy planets. You have primitive missiles and energy beams." Kim Woo-jin's smile grew wider. "Oh, we understand perfectly. Thank you for the information about your fleet size. That's very helpful. You are either very stupid or completely insane," Admiral Vexthul said. "Maybe both," Kim Woo-jin replied cheerfully. "We'll talk again tomorrow." The alien admiral made a gesture, and the holographic image disappeared. On the main screen, the Bisfao alien fleet began to move deeper into Earth's solar system, taking positions near the outer planets. Captain Park Min-ho turned to his admiral. "Sir, with respect, should we be smiling right now? They have 6 times more ships than we do." Kim Woo-jin walked to the large window that showed the stars outside. "Captain, how long have you served in the Space Defense Force?" 15 years, sir." "And in all that time, have you ever known humans to do things the easy way?" Park Min-ho thought about it. Humans had built cities in the middle of deserts and at the bottom of oceans. They had traveled to space in tiny metal boxes powered by controlled explosions. They had colonized planets where the air was poison and the ground was made of ice. "No, sir. We don't do things the easy way." "Commander Lee," Kim Woo-jin said, turning to the other officer. "Please send a message to all fleet commanders. Tell them to begin Operation Hanbok immediately." Lee Ji-woo's eyes widened. Operation Hanbok was so secret that only a few dozen people in the entire fleet knew about it. "Sir, are you sure? Once we start Operation Hanbok, there's no going back." "I'm sure," Kim Woo-jin said. "Also, please send a message to Admiral Vexthal. Tell him we appreciate his generous offer of surrender, but humanity must respectfully decline. Tell him we hope he'll understand our position eventually." Captain Park Min-ho felt confused. "Sir, they offered us surrender. They didn't ask us to surrender to them." Kim Woo-jin's smile became almost mischievous. "Exactly. They offered to surrender to us. We're just being polite by declining." Commander Lee Ji-woo began typing commands into her console. Around the bridge, other officers started moving with purpose. Red lights began flashing and alarms sounded throughout the ship. It was the signal for all human ships to prepare for battle. Outside, the alien fleet continued moving into position. Their ships were massive and powerful, covered with thick armor and energy shields. Each one could probably destroy a human ship with a single shot. Admiral Vexthal Moran was confident that this would be the easiest conquest in the history of the Empire. But Admiral Vexthal had made a mistake. He had studied human technology and human weapons, but he had not studied human nature. He had learned about human ships and human colonies, but he had not learned about human creativity. Most importantly, he had not learned that humans had a strange habit of smiling when things became difficult. Other species became afraid when they faced impossible odds. Humans became excited. The alien admiral thought Kim Woo-jin was smiling because he was crazy or stupid. He had no way of knowing that the human admiral was smiling, because for the first time in decades, humanity finally had a challenge worthy of their attention. The 72-hour countdown had begun, but Kim Woo-jin was right about one thing. Humans would have their answer much sooner than that. Lieutenant Choi Na-young ran through the corridors of Seoul's Pride as fast as she could. In her hands, she carried a data pad filled with the most secret information in the human fleet. The numbers and charts on the screen would explain why Admiral Kim Woo-jin had smiled when the aliens threatened to destroy humanity. She burst through the doors of the main briefing room, where the senior officers were already gathering. Captain Park Min-ho was there, along with Commander Lee Ji-woo and a dozen other important people from different ships in the fleet. "Sorry, I'm late," Choi Na-young said, breathing hard. "I was getting the final numbers from the intelligence division." "Commander." Yoon Tae-hyung stood up at the front of the room. He was in charge of special projects, the kind of projects that most people in the fleet didn't know about. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Please take a seat. We have a lot to discuss." He activated a large holographic display in the center of the room. Images of human ships appeared, but they looked different from the normal designs. These ships had strange shapes and unusual weapons. "Ladies and gentlemen," Yoon Tae-hyung began, "what you're about to see is classified at the highest level. For the past 20 years, ever since we first learned about the hostile nature of the galaxy, humanity has been preparing for this day." Captain Park Min-ho studied the ship designs. "Those don't look like any ships in our fleet." "That's because they're not in our official fleet," Yoon Tae-hyung replied. "What the aliens detected were our patrol ships and defense vessels. They think those 50 ships are our entire military force. They have no idea about our real fleet." He changed the display to show a star chart. Red dots marked human colonies, but there were far more green dots scattered throughout space. "These green markers represent our hidden bases. We have been building them in secret for decades, using mining operations and research stations as cover." Commander Lee Ji-woo leaned forward. "How many ships are we really talking about?" 200 combat vessels, fully armed and ready for battle," Yoon Tae-hyung said. "But that's not the important part. The important part is what those ships can do." The display changed again, showing technical specifications that made several officers gasp. The ships were fast, much faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. Their weapons were based on completely new principles that no other species in the galaxy used. Captain Han Minji spoke up from the back of the room. She was in charge of the defense satellite network around Earth. The speed advantage is impressive, but what about their shields? Alien energy shields are supposed to be nearly impossible to penetrate. Yoon Tae-hyung smiled. That's the beautiful part. We don't try to penetrate their shields, we phase right through them. He showed a video of weapons testing. Human energy beams passed through alien shield technology as if it wasn't there, striking the hull of test targets directly. Our weapons operate on a different frequency than anything the aliens have encountered. Their shields simply don't know how to stop them. Lieutenant Choi Na-young raised her hand. What about their numbers advantage? Even with 200 ships, they still have 300. Actually, said Engineer Song Ji-hoon, standing up from his seat, they have exactly 297 ships. We've been counting them as they arrived. And numbers aren't everything in space combat. Song Ji-hoon was the chief engineer for the entire human fleet. He had designed many of the new technologies that would give humanity an edge in the coming battle. The aliens fight in formations that were developed hundreds of years ago. They rely on overwhelming firepower and thick armor. But our ships are built for a completely different kind of warfare. He activated another display, showing human ships moving in complex patterns around enemy formations. While they're trying to hit us with their big guns, we'll be moving too fast for their targeting systems to track. Human pilots have been training for this kind of combat their entire careers. Captain Park Min-ho looked confused. But how can our pilots handle that kind of speed and acceleration? The forces involved would kill a normal person. That's why our pilots aren't normal people anymore, Song Ji-hoon replied. All of our combat pilots have been enhanced. Their bones are stronger, their reflexes are faster, and their bodies can survive forces that would turn aliens into paste. Commander Lee Ji-woo felt a chill run down her spine. We've been modifying our own people? Volunteers only, Yoon Tae-hyung said quickly. And the modifications are completely reversible. But yes, we've been preparing our people for the kind of warfare that other species can't even imagine. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. They had known that humanity was preparing for contact with hostile aliens, but they had no idea how extensive the preparations had been. Captain Han Minji broke the silence. There's something else, isn't there? I can see it in your faces. Yoon Tae-hyung nodded. Show them the satellite network, Captain Han. Han Minji stood up and took control of the display. The image changed to show the space around Earth, but instead of being mostly empty, it was filled with thousands of tiny dots. These are our microsatellites. Each one is about the size of a refrigerator, and there are 5,000 of them, scattered throughout the solar system. The officers stared at the display in amazement. The satellites were everywhere, hidden among asteroids, floating in the empty space between planets, even orbiting the sun itself. They're completely invisible to alien sensors, Han Minji continued. But each one is equipped with weapons that can damage or destroy a capital ship. When the battle begins, the alien fleet won't just be fighting our ships. They'll be fighting the entire solar system. Engineer Song Ji-hoon added, the aliens expect a traditional space battle. 2 fleets meeting in open space, trading shots, until one side is destroyed. But we're not going to give them a traditional battle. We're going to give them something they've never seen before. Lieutenant Choi Na-young looked at her datapad, then at the senior officers around the room. So when Admiral Kim smiled at the alien ultimatum, he wasn't being brave or crazy. He was being realistic. Exactly, Commander Yoon Tae-hyung said. The aliens think they're hunting sheep. They have no idea they're walking into a trap set by wolves. Captain Park Min-ho felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. When does this all begin? It already has, Lee Ji-woo said, checking her own console. Admiral Kim sent the rejection message to the aliens 10 minutes ago. Our ships are moving into position, and Captain Han is activating the satellite network. Outside the meeting room, alarms were sounding throughout the human fleet. Ships that had been hiding for years began moving toward their battle positions. Pilots climbed into cockpits of fighters that could move faster than any alien had ever imagined. Engineers made final preparations to weapons that operated on principles the Terran Empire had never encountered. Admiral Vexthul Moran and his 300 ships were still moving confidently toward Earth, expecting to crush the primitive human resistance in a matter of hours. They had no way of knowing that the small, smiling human admiral had just activated the most sophisticated military trap in galactic history. The real battle was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what happened when you threatened the species that had turned warfare into an art form. The battle began near Neptune, at the edge of humanity's solar system. Admiral Vexthul Moran stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, Dominion's Wrath, watching the human fleet approach on his sensors. The primitive vessels looked tiny compared to his mighty ships, and he felt confident that this would be over quickly. "All ships prepare for battle formation," he commanded into his communication system. Around him, 200 heavy cruisers and 100 support vessels moved into the traditional Terran wall formation. It was a tactic that had worked for hundreds of years against dozens of different species. The alien ships were impressive to look at. Each one was covered in thick armor plating that gleamed in the light of the distant sun. Their energy shields created colorful aurora effects around their hulls. Their weapons were massive, designed to punch through the defenses of enemy capital, ships with overwhelming force. Commander Quan Seokjin watched the alien formation from the bridge of his destroyer, Busan Thunder. He had studied Terran tactics for years, and he knew exactly what they were trying to do. The wall formation was meant to create an unstoppable wall of firepower that would destroy everything in its path. "All human ships, begin tactical pattern 7, he announced over the fleet communication system. "Remember, speed and surprise are our advantages. Don't let them lock onto you with their big guns." The human ships began to move in ways that confused the alien sensors. Instead of forming their own wall to meet the enemy head-on, they spread out in all directions. Some ships moved up, some moved down, and others began flying in complex spirals and loops. Captain Im Subin piloted her stealth frigate, Ghost of Jeju, directly toward the center of the alien formation. Her ship was equipped with the most advanced cloaking technology humanity had ever built. To the alien sensors, she simply didn't exist. "Ghost of Jeju to all units," she whispered into her communication system. "I'm inside their formation now. Their blind spots are exactly where our intelligence said they would be. These ships are built for long-range combat, not close-quarters fighting." She was right. The massive alien ships had weapons that could destroy targets from thousands of kilometers away, but they had almost no defenses against small, fast ships that got close to them. It was like trying to swat flies with a hammer. Admiral Vexthul Moran stared at his sensor displays in confusion. "Where are the other human ships?" he demanded. "Our intelligence said they had 50 vessels, but I'm seeing readings for over 200. His tactical officer, a four-armed alien with blue skin, worked frantically at his console. "Sir, it appears that many of the ships we detected earlier were using holographic projectors to hide their true numbers. The humans have been lying to us about the size of their fleet." "Impossible," Vexthul roared. "No species has ever successfully deceived Terran intelligence gathering." But even as he spoke, the human ships were demonstrating capabilities that shocked the alien fleet. Lieutenant Commander An Yujin led a squadron of 12 human fighters in an attack run against one of the alien cruisers. Her small ship pulled, a turn so sharp that it should have killed every living thing inside. The alien tactical officer watched in horror as the human fighters moved in ways that defied everything he knew about physics and biology. "Sir, those acceleration forces should be lethal to any organic life form. How are the human pilots surviving?" Vexthul had no answer. He watched as the human fighters danced around his massive ships, moving faster than anything he had ever seen. Their weapons weren't very powerful individually, but they were hitting targets with impossible accuracy. Then the real surprises began. The first human attack hit one of the alien cruisers with what looked like a standard energy beam. But instead of being stopped by the ship's shields, the beam passed right through them as if they weren't there. The energy struck the ship's hull directly, causing massive damage. "Shields down on cruiser Darkstar 7, reported the tactical officer. "But sir, that's impossible. The energy beam went right through our shields." More human ships opened fire, And the same thing happened again and again. The alien shields, which had protected Keth Terran ships for centuries, were completely useless against human weapons. Admiral Vexthul felt something he had never experienced before in battle. Fear. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. Captain Im Subin's voice came over the alien communication system, somehow having hacked into their secured channels. "Your shields work by deflecting energy at certain frequencies," she explained helpfully. "Our weapons operate at frequencies your technology has never encountered. It's like trying to stop light with a net designed to catch fish." The alien admiral realized that his enemy was not only defeating his ships, but was also explaining how they were doing it. It was the ultimate insult. Commander Kwan Seokjin coordinated the human attack from his position aboard Busan Thunder. The human ships moved like dancers, each one knowing exactly where the others were going to be. They had trained for this kind of combat for years, practicing against computer simulations of alien tactics. The Keth Terran ships, on the other hand, were designed for straightforward combat. They were powerful, but they were also slow and predictable. Their commanders had conquered 43 species using the same basic tactics, and they had never needed to adapt or innovate. "All ships target their weapon systems," Kwan Seokjin ordered. "We want to disable them, not destroy them. Dead aliens can't learn from their mistakes." The human ships began surgical strikes against the alien fleet. Instead of trying to destroy the massive ships outright, they targeted specific systems. Weapons went offline, engines failed, and communication systems were disabled with pinpoint accuracy. Admiral Vexthul watched in growing horror as his mighty fleet was taken apart piece by piece. "This is impossible," he broadcast on all frequencies. "Your technology readings indicated primitive capabilities. How can you be doing this?" Admiral Kim Woo-jin's calm voice replied from across the void of space. "Oh, those readings were accurate. We just didn't mention our recent improvements. You see, Admiral, your empire has been stagnant for centuries. You've been using the same tactics, the same technology, and the same strategies for so long that you've forgotten how to innovate." A Keth Terran battleship exploded in the distance, its massive hull breaking apart in a brilliant flash of light. Humans, on the other hand, have never stopped improving. "We've spent the last 20 years studying your weaknesses and developing countermeasures. This battle isn't a fight between two fleets. It's a demonstration of what happens when innovation meets stagnation." The alien admiral looked around his bridge. Half of his ships were either destroyed or disabled. The humans had suffered almost no casualties. His officers stared at their displays in shock, unable to understand how their superior numbers and firepower had become so useless. "But we have 300 ships," Vexthul protested. "You only have 200. "Numbers don't matter when you're fighting the wrong kind of battle," Kim Woo-jin replied. "You came here expecting to crush primitive barbarians. Instead, you found a species that has turned warfare into an art form. And Admiral, this is just our opening move." As if to prove his point, thousands of new contacts appeared on the alien sensors. The hidden satellite network around Earth had just revealed itself, and every single satellite was armed and targeting the Keth Terran fleet. Admiral Vexthul Moran realized that he had made the greatest mistake in the history of his empire. He had attacked a species that didn't just fight to win. They fought to teach their enemies why challenging humanity was a very bad idea. Admiral Vexthul Moran stared at his tactical display in disbelief. In less than 2 hours, he had lost over half of his fleet to what he had expected to be primitive barbarians. The humans were not just winning the battle, they were making it look easy. But the Keth Terran Empire had not conquered 43 species by giving up when things became difficult. Vexthul activated his most secure communication channel and sent a priority message to his weapons officers. "Deploy the planet killers," he ordered grimly. "All of them." His tactical officer, the blue-skinned alien whose name was Korthval, turned to stare at his admiral. "Sir, are you certain? The planet killer missiles are meant to be our final option. Once we use them, there can be no negotiation, no surrender from the enemy." "Look at the battle display, Korthval," Vexthul replied, gesturing at the screens showing destroyed and disabled Keth Terran ships. "There will be no surrender from these humans anyway. They fight like demons. Our only choice is to destroy their home world and hope that breaks their spirit. The planet killer missiles were the most feared weapons in the Terran arsenal. Each one was the size of a small building and carried enough explosive power to crack a planet's crust. They moved slowly compared to normal weapons, but they were heavily armored and nearly impossible to stop. 6 massive launch tubes opened on the sides of Dominion's Wrath, and 6 planet-killer missiles emerged like sleeping giants awakening. They began their slow, steady journey toward Earth, their massive engines glowing red in the darkness of space. Captain Ryu Jae-won watched the missile launch from the bridge of his battlecruiser, Incheon's Hammer. He had been waiting for this moment. Human intelligence had known about the planet-killer missiles for years, and they had developed specific countermeasures. "All point defense systems activate now," he ordered his weapons officers. "Target the planet killers with everything we have." The human ships had been designed with the assumption that they would eventually face planet killer weapons. Every ship in the fleet carried advanced point defense systems that could track and destroy incoming missiles with incredible accuracy. Streams of energy beams and projectile weapons reached out from the human fleet, targeting the massive missiles. The first planet killer exploded in a brilliant flash that could be seen from Earth itself. The second and third missiles followed moments later. Admiral Vexthul watched in growing desperation as his ultimate weapons were destroyed one by one. "How?" he whispered. "How can they be so accurate at such long range?" The answer came from Commander Kang Hyuan aboard her command ship, Silent Storm. She was in charge of the human fleet's most secret weapon, adaptive artificial intelligence, systems that learned and improved with every moment of combat. "Our targeting computers have been analyzing your weapons and tactics since the battle began," she explained over the alien communication channel. "Every shot you fire teaches us more about your capabilities. Every maneuver you make shows us your weaknesses. By now our systems know your fleet better than you do." It was true. The human ships were equipped with AI systems that observed everything the aliens did and constantly updated their tactics accordingly. Every time a Terran ship fired its weapons, the human computers learned the exact capabilities of those weapons. Every time an alien ship moved, the computers calculated its maximum speed and turning radius. The aliens, on the other hand, were using tactics and strategies that had been developed hundreds of years ago. They relied on overwhelming force and superior numbers, but they had never learned to adapt during battle. The 6th and final planet-killer missile exploded just as it reached the halfway point to Earth. Admiral Vexthul realized that his most powerful weapons had been completely useless against an enemy that seemed to know exactly what he was going to do before he did it. "This is madness," he muttered to himself. "How can a primitive species defeat the weapons of the Empire?" "Admiral." Kim Woo-jin's voice answered him over the communication system. "Admiral Moran, your empire has ruled through fear for centuries. You've conquered species that fought with honor but lacked imagination. The problem with ruling through fear is that eventually, you meet someone who isn't afraid of you." As if to prove his point, something happened that made the alien admiral's blood run cold. Human boarding shuttles began launching from several ships in the fleet, heading directly for damaged Terran vessels. Major Shin Yu-jung led the first boarding party as it approached a disabled alien cruiser. Her team of 20 Marines was equipped with armor and weapons designed specifically for fighting inside alien ships. They had studied Terran ship layouts for years and knew exactly where to go. "Remember," she told her team over their private communication channel, "we want prisoners and information. Try not to kill anyone unless they shoot first." The human Marines cut through the alien ship's hull with precision tools and entered the corridors inside. The Terran crew members they encountered were shocked to see humans aboard their ship. Most had never seen a human before, and they certainly had never expected to see human soldiers inside their most secure areas. The aliens tried to fight back, but they quickly discovered that human soldiers were just as enhanced as human pilots. The Marines moved faster than any organic being should be able to move, and their weapons were devastatingly effective in close combat. Within 30 minutes, Major Shin Yu-jung and her team had captured the alien cruiser's command center and taken its officers prisoner. More importantly, they had gained access to the ship's computer systems and databases. "Command, this is Major Shin," she reported back to the human fleet. "We have secured the cruiser and captured its database. The intelligence officers are going to love what we found here." Similar boarding actions were taking place across the battlefield. Human Marines were capturing alien ships not to destroy them, but to learn from them. Every captured database provided more information about Terran technology, tactics, and weaknesses. Engineer Lim Dong-min was coordinating the technical analysis from his position aboard Seoul's Pride. As each captured database was transmitted back to the human fleet, his team of experts analyzed the information and distributed it to all human ships. "This is incredible," he reported to Admiral Kim. "The aliens have detailed records of every species they've ever conquered. We're learning about their tactics, their weapons, even their psychology. It's like having a complete manual for defeating the Terran Empire." But the most shocking discovery came when the humans accessed the aliens' long-range sensor data. The Terran Empire had been watching humanity for decades, studying their technology and preparing for invasion. But their observations had been completely wrong. "They were watching our civilian colonies and trade ships," Lim Dong-min explained. "They never detected our military research facilities or our hidden fleets. They based their entire invasion plan on incomplete information." Admiral Vexthul received reports of the boarding actions with growing horror. Not only were the humans defeating his fleet, but they were also capturing his ships and stealing their secrets. It was the worst military disaster in the history of the Empire. "Sir," reported his tactical officer, "we're receiving surrender offers from 17 of our ships. Their commanders are requesting permission to give up before the humans board them." The alien admiral felt something break inside his mind. The idea of Terran ship commanders surrendering to primitive barbarians was so unthinkable that he could barely process it. "Admiral Kim," he broadcast on the main communication channel, his voice filled with desperation. "What do you want from us? What are your terms for ending this slaughter?" Admiral Kim's reply was calm and almost friendly. "Admiral Moran, we don't want anything from you except for you to leave our space and never come back. But I'm afraid the decision about ending this battle isn't yours to make anymore." On the tactical display, thousands of new contacts appeared around the alien fleet. The hidden satellite network that Captain Han Minji had been preparing was finally activating. 5,000 armed satellites surrounded the Terran ships like a deadly web. "You see," Admiral Kim continued, "you came here to demonstrate the power of your empire. So we're going to let you complete that demonstration. When you return to your capital, you'll be able to tell your emperor exactly what happens when the Terran Empire challenges humanity." Admiral Vexthul realized that the battle was not just a defeat. It was a lesson that humanity was teaching to the entire galaxy. Admiral Vexthul Moran sat in his command chair aboard the Dominion's Wrath, staring at the tactical display that showed the complete destruction of his once mighty fleet. Of the 300 ships he had brought to crush humanity, only 90 were still capable of fighting. More than half of those were severely damaged and running on emergency power. Around his flagship, thousands of human satellites floated in perfect formation, their weapons trained on every remaining Terran vessel. The message was clear. The battle was over, and humanity had won completely. "Sir," his tactical officer Korthval reported quietly, "we're receiving a transmission from the human admiral. He's requesting permission to come aboard." Bextel felt a strange mix of emotions. In all his years of conquest, no enemy commander had ever asked to board his ship as a victor. Usually, by this point in a battle, the enemy was either dead or begging for mercy. "Permission granted," he said finally. "Have our honor guard meet him at the docking bay. Even in defeat, we will show proper military courtesy." 20 minutes later, Admiral Kim Woojin walked through the corridors of the Dominions, Wrath accompanied by Captain Oh Sung-min and a small team of human officers. The alien crew members they passed stared at them with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Most had never seen a human being in person. Kim Woojin was not what the aliens had expected. He was shorter than most Terrans, with gray hair and a calm expression. He didn't look like a warrior who had just destroyed the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. He looked like someone's grandfather who happened to be wearing a military uniform. When they reached the bridge, Admiral Vex Thul stood to meet his conqueror. The human admiral looked around the impressive command center, taking note of the advanced technology and the defeated expressions of the alien officers. "Admiral Moran," Kim Woo-jin said, extending his hand in the human gesture of greeting. "Thank you for allowing me aboard your ship." Vexthul stared at the offered hand for a moment, then carefully shook it. The human's grip was firm but not threatening. "Admiral Kim," he replied, "I must admit that I do not understand your customs. In our experience, victorious commanders typically demand immediate surrender and complete submission." Kim Woo-jin smiled the same gentle smile that had started this entire conflict. "Admiral, we're not here to demand anything. We're here to offer you a choice." He gestured to Captain Oh Seung-min, who activated a portable holographic display. The image showed a star chart of the local region of the galaxy, with human and Keth Terran territories clearly marked. "Your empire has two options," Kim Woo-jin explained. "Option 1. You can withdraw your fleets from our space immediately and sign a non-aggression treaty with humanity. We'll return your captured ships and crews, and we'll pretend this unfortunate misunderstanding never happened." Vexthul studied the star chart. "And option 2? Kim Woo-jin's smile became slightly less friendly. "Option 2 is that we demonstrate what happens when humanity stops playing defense and starts playing offense." Captain Oh Seung-min changed the display to show long-range sensor readings from beyond Earth's solar system. The readings showed massive fleets of human ships moving toward Keth Terran space, fleets that were much larger than anything the Empire had ever seen. "What you fought today was Earth's local defense force," Kim Woo-jin explained calmly. "It represents approximately 1% of humanity's total military capability. Our main fleets have been preparing for this war for 20 years. And they're already moving toward your territory." The alien admiral felt his four hearts skip several beats. If the humans could destroy his fleet with only 1% of their military power, what could they do with their full strength? "But Admiral," Kim Woo-jin continued, "we're not interested in conquest. We're explorers and inventors, not empire builders. All we want is to be left alone to develop our technology and explore the galaxy in peace." Commander Bae Suman stepped forward and handed Vexthul a data tablet. "These are the complete terms of our proposed treaty. As you can see, we're not asking for tribute, territory, or submission. We just want your empire to acknowledge that humanity is not to be threatened or attacked." Vexthul read through the treaty terms with growing amazement. In his entire career, he had never seen terms so generous offered by a victorious force. The humans were asking for almost nothing beyond a promise to leave them alone. "I don't understand," he admitted finally. "You have completely defeated us. You could demand anything you wanted. Why are you offering such generous terms?" Kim Woo-jin walked to the large window that showed the stars outside. "Admiral, your empire has spent centuries conquering other species because you believe that strength came from domination. But humanity has learned that true strength comes from the freedom to grow and explore without fear." He turned back to face the alien commander. "We don't want to rule your empire, Admiral. We want to show the galaxy that there's a better way to resolve conflicts than through conquest and submission." Captain Oh Seung-min added, "Besides, ruling an empire would interfere with our real goals. We have 17 star systems we want to explore, 12 new technologies we're developing, and at least 6 impossible engineering projects we want to attempt. Governing conquered aliens would just slow us down." Admiral Vexthul realized that he was dealing with a completely different kind of species than any his empire had ever encountered. "Your species fights with joy," he said slowly. "We fight for duty, for empire, for dominance. But you smile because you love the challenge itself." "Exactly," Kim Woo-jin replied. "We don't fight because we hate our enemies. We fight because we enjoy proving that impossible problems can be solved with enough creativity and determination." The alien admiral made his decision. He activated his communication system and sent a message to the surviving ships of his fleet. "All vessels, this is Admiral Vexthul Moran. Cease all hostilities immediately and prepare for withdrawal from human space. We are accepting the human terms for peace." As news of the treaty spread through both fleets, something unprecedented happened. Human and Terran engineers began talking to each other over their communication systems, comparing notes about technology and tactics. The humans were genuinely curious about alien engineering methods, while the aliens were amazed by human innovation. Captain John Woo-young of the science vessel Daegu Explorer was already making plans to study the captured Terran technology. "Admiral," he reported to Kim Woo-jin, "the alien ships use some fascinating principles that we've never seen before. With your permission, I'd like to propose a technology exchange program." Admiral Vexthul was surprised to find himself interested in the proposal. "A technology exchange? But we are enemies." "We're enemies," Kim Woo-jin corrected gently. "Now we're neighbors, and humanity has always believed that good neighbors should help each other." As the alien fleet prepared to leave Earth's solar system, word of the battle was already spreading to other parts of the galaxy. The Terran Empire, which had seemed invincible for centuries, had been completely defeated by a species that most galactic powers had never heard of. Other alien empires monitored the communications with growing concern. The Zeltharan Confederation increased their border patrols. The Morphic Collective began emergency sessions to discuss the human problem. The ancient Vorlak Republic, which had been silent for thousands of years, sent observers to learn more about this new power. But humanity was not interested in becoming another galactic empire. As Admiral Kim Woo-jin stood on the bridge of Sol's Pride, watching the alien fleet disappear into hyperspace, he was already thinking about exploration missions to distant galaxies and research projects that would take decades to complete. "Admiral," Commander Lee Ji-woo asked, "do you think they'll honor the treaty?" Kim Woo-jin smiled his characteristic smile. "Commander, the Terran Empire has just learned that humanity doesn't fight wars the way other species do. They'll honor the treaty, because they're terrified of what might happen if they don't." He looked out at the stars where human exploration ships were already preparing for their next missions. "Besides, we have more interesting things to do than fight wars. The galaxy is full of mysteries waiting to be solved, and humanity has never been able to resist a good mystery." The battle that had begun with an alien ultimatum ended with humanity announcing itself to the galaxy not as conquerors, but as the species that turned every challenge into an opportunity for growth. The smile that had confused Admiral Vexthul at the beginning of the conflict was the expression of a species that had finally found its place among the stars. And in the depths of space, other galactic powers began to understand that the balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted in favor of the species that smiled when things became difficult.